live. We're live on 2 platforms. Crazy. It's crazy how that
Crazy.
works, man.
And we're getting it shared again. You
Oh,
know,
yeah.
for people trying to keep track of our live stream schedule, good luck. You know,
Mhm.
um,
Mhm. You know,
it's
we
just
just
not going to happen. You
yeah,
know,
yeah, it's, we're just trying to keep everybody on their toes. That's the biggest thing.
yeah.
Trying to keep you on your toes, keep you ready to go. Um, it is what it is. It is what
Oh,
it is. We're just
sorry.
busy people.
I thought I shared this with something else and I freaked out for a moment. Okay, we're good. We're good. Okay. So anyway, how's it going, everybody? Happy Tuesday night.
Exactly.
Thanks for
Happy
jumping on the
Tuesday
live stream,
night.
man. We got a lot of people on here. What's going on, everybody?
Yeah, hey, how's it going?
Yeah,
Also,
what
guys,
is up?
smile. You're gonna be on the Be Real for the day
Yep,
today for me.
yep.
So,
Get on the be real
you
there.
know, exactly. Let me get this going. Boom. Behind the scenes, Be Real. There it is. Look at that. Crazy.
What's up? You love to see it. All right. While everyone or while Denison's being real for a second, we're gonna talk about something that's not so real. In fact, is AI. And I'm gonna start recording here.
Mm-hmm.
Let's got a little countdown.
See what that?
So yeah, this has been the talk of everything that I've seen. Really everywhere. It's this AI song that makes it sound like Drake is rapping. It actually doing a collab song with The Weeknd,
Mm-hmm.
right? And actually, why don't we just go ahead and listen to it right now? Okay.
Okay.
I probably shouldn't have. I should have set this up differently. That's all right. Made y'all guess if it was AI or not. But most of you have probably seen this online, if not heard it. Um, Here we go. This should play through. Uh,
I came in with my ex like Selena, the flex, bumping Justin Bieber, the fever ain't left, she know what she need, or I need, or she blessed, giving me my best, yeah. I got my heart on my sleeve with a knife in my back, what's with that, 21, I love him, then my brother, that's where slack, Metro made the beat, so you know that it's gon' slap, yeah, it's gon' slap, time, run it back. Talking to a diva, yeah, she on my nerves. She think that I need her, kick her to the curb. All I know is you could've had the world, yeah, you were my world. These girls make me
yeah, crazy, right? I'm assuming that all came through, right? You could hear all that.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Okay.
All came through loud and clear.
So it's so crazy to me for a number of reasons. The inflection in Dre's voice was so spot on.
Mm-hmm.
The self ad libs that he does, where he's like, "Hey, yeah," in between the words, was exact. I've seen a couple of things how this could have been made. To start off the top here real quick, and one of
Mm-hmm.
those things, I mean, they're all on TikTok, and the whole situation surrounding this is kind of like the Wild West, right?
Yeah.
Um, as we've talked about, the fact that this is even made. Christina, she says, unfortunately, that's a hit. And see, I was gonna say that here in just a second. I told Dennison before we went live, it's the best song Drake put out since 2020, man. But it's not him. And that's the crazy thing. And I think that there are certain things, certain parts, certain spaces between words where you can tell it's computer, but only if you knew it. If I hadn't been told that before, I probably would not have assumed, you know. I would have
Mm-hmm.
just thought that was a rough demo. Darian's in the chat. I'm glad y'all are jumping in the chat here. The creepiest one I heard was Beyonce's Cuff It, but it was done by Rihanna instead. I've seen a lot of that. For whatever reason, it seems like it's easier for AI to take somebody else's voice and have them replicate a song that's already out there. Um,
Mm-hmm.
that's been done with Drake. I just seriously just saw a bunch of Michael Jackson ones on TikTok not too long ago. So yeah, it does seem like for whatever reason that's easier. I don't know what the science is behind that, other than the AI itself has more of a firm thing to go off of, rather than creating from scratch.
Mhm.
Um,
It's
but
got
yes, again,
guidelines.
like you said, unfortunately, it's a hit, and that's what we're here to talk about today. Is the fact that this is such a good song. It is believable. Um, and obviously, the Drake and the Weeknd collaborating would be a massive thing,
Oh,
uh,
yeah.
for that to happen again. But this has already been taken down. I'm actually surprised I found it on YouTube. And here's how big of a deal this is. The only reason I found this on YouTube is because a guy took it and remixed it and mastered it. It's been taken down. The original has been taken down from all streaming sites in just 2 days since it came out. I think it was Saturday night and Sunday morning. I saw this on my TikTok,
Mhm.
and it just took until this morning for it to be taken down. And it's still, even this remixed and remastered version, it just said right now is in the top 25 on music, in YouTube, you know,
Yeah.
and it's not even a
Just
real song.
crazy.
Yeah, it's not even a real song. Man, I don't know. It makes you think like, and this is what we're going to talk about tonight. Is AI going to take over music, man?
Yeah. Yeah. Well, and also it does pose that same question of what can constitute as a real song,
Yeah,
you know?
yeah, exactly. It's a big question. Where does it start? Where does this end? So we're going to talk about it. So let's go ahead and get into it, man. This thing is just, I can't get over this. Like, listen to this weekend part, right?
Neck, got these girls on my track, like Selena, baby, on my cheating, baby, yeah. She thinking a Lambo for a drive, it's in the back door, and she way out the store. I got my heart on my sleeve, with the city on my back, ain't no pack. Say she from Toronto, but can't find it on the map. That's on me, I caught it in the past. Talking to a deep.
Yeah, crazy. He goes back into the chorus, the Drake chorus. I
Mhm.
think the weekend part is a little more noticeable.
Yeah, yeah, it's a little weak. It's a little weak. So you can kind of tell that that's not fully um fully the weekend there.
Yeah. 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 Actually, you know what? Let's roll our intro real quick because I want to talk about that real fast.
Mhm.
Three, two, one. What's going on, everybody? I'm John,
And I'm Denizen.
and this is the catch up. Okay, cool. Now let's just roll right into it.
Let's
Three,
do it.
two, because I'll dump that part into the audio as well. Three, two, one. Yeah, I think the weekend part is, a little bit more noticeable. You said you did too.
Mhm.
Yeah, it's a little more noticeable that it's AI. I think there are certain things like his vowel placement that are spot on,
Mhm.
but I again, if it's creating from scratch, I think if you're more or less talking at different pitches, that's easier to manipulate than it is singing and scoops, to different notes and all that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
Um, but yeah, so Christina's in the comments here. She says, I think this is where the law hasn't yet caught up because is the artist's AI generated in is the artist generated voice, AI generated voice, their likeness. And then who would win the Grammy? That's a great question. Man, and the
Mhm.
way the Grammys are, I could totally see them trying to be hip and being like, yeah, this AI creator won best song of the year or something like that.
Mhm.
Um, well, I'll tell you what has happened actually since this has come out. Um, is that UMG Universal Music Group, who represents Drake, who also represents The Weeknd, has gotten this taken down. Um, and they have claimed that it violates the likeness. I'm paraphrasing here, of the artists that they represent, right? But the thing about it is, you're right, Christina. There's nothing inherently against the law for this, right?
Mhm.
So what I think you're going to see is you're going to have people who are filing trademarks for their voice, which is a thing. And honestly, it's not. It doesn't have a great foundation in the law, because not a lot of people. That's why not a lot of people seek it out. How hard is it? I trademark my voice, right? That's kind of such an open-ended thing because my voice commonly sounds like this, but I can also sing really high. Or if I have a cold, I'm going to sound way different then too, right?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, it's almost like you would need kind of like funny enough, it feels like you would almost need to train almost like an AI to say on your voice in every pitch, every, way, which way that you use your voice. Um and then say this, and then say you copyright that and say, see, this is my voice in blah blah blah. Essentially, you'd have to enter in all of the data for them to say, okay, cool, this is now your voice.
Yeah. Yeah. Right.
But then
And
you
the
have to still go after people on that too.
right. And a side casualty of that too would be vocal impressionists, right? People
Hmm.
that make their living as comedians doing the impressions of other stars. That's going to go away. you know.
Yeah, that's
Um,
true.
yeah, that is very true. Um, yeah, so I don't know. It's very interesting to see this. And like you said before, this is like the Wild West. No one really knows what's going to happen. So again, what I just espoused there is my assumption of what this will be like. I don't know for a fact that that is how they're going to police this, but at this moment, and I want to know what y'all's thoughts are in the chat. Absolutely.
Hmm.
At this moment, it seems like the music industry is going to, and of course, Dennis and I want to know your thoughts on this. Right now, it seems like the music industry is going to do everything in their power to protect their properties, right, of their artists. And so that was a big step. Universal Music Group, obviously one of the biggest, and they did everything they could to remove this. That was, in a way, you could argue taking away from Drake, taking
Hmm.
away from the Weeknd. And so they're going to try to fight for those property rights. Um, I saw an article somewhere that called this a Napster moment. When Napster came out, that started the downloading music, streaming, sharing song files, all that stuff. And so that transformed the music industry. Somebody called this that. I don't disagree that could transform the music industry, but my question is, do you think that it will transform it in the way of where we see more AI? Or do you think, more AI music, like we're going to hear AI music on the radio, that kind of stuff? Or do you see it transform it in a way where there's more protections for established artists already?
That's a hard one, man. At least my take on it is honestly, I feel like the law is not going to catch up. I mean, they're making strides, but it takes a long time, and it's not an easy subject to really like really dive in and actually say like, okay, this like yay or nay, this needs to happen or this needs to happen, or like if this were to happen, um, it would look like this, or this is the type of legal action that we would need to take for this or that. So honestly, I don't foresee, um, I don't foresee like the law catching up. So I think it's going to be more in the court of public opinion, right?
Mhm.
And I kind of feel like we're going to go through like multiple periods, right? I think we're going to go through a period of where a lot of people are going to say this is cool but kind of creepy, and then people are going to say like, no, I don't like this at all,
Mhm.
and then we're gonna get this weird equilibrium. Um, but I don't feel like we're ever gonna get to a point to where, at least not where we are currently, not with the current AI models and stuff like that, to where we're gonna say like, all right, the best Grammy winner award winner is stuff like
Yeah,
that.
his Ghost Rider from TikTok, and he just walks out with his bed sheet and sunglasses on.
Yeah.
Um, yeah, I agree with you, and I also disagree on certain points. I think the law will catch up.
Mm,
I think the music industry is one of those industries that has the ear of Congress. Yeah, you look at the thing with recently with Taylor Swift and Live Nation and everything that went on with that with Ticketmaster and all of that, and that they had hearings on Congress very quickly. Um,
Mhm.
I think that it's something that at least will be brought to the attention of Congress for that sort of purpose. Now, I do have another thought with this, but I want to take a look at the comments here real quick.
Mm.
Christina says, I don't think they're protecting their artists. If they could profit off of it, they would tell the artists to get over it. And that's another aspect of this Wild West atmosphere that I see, because you would have some that would be like, no, that's infringement on our artists, our property that we've invested in, you know. And again, I'm just assuming this for artists that are out now. I don't know what will happen for new artists. No
Yep.
idea. But for artists that are out now, you'd have one sect of it that would probably try to protect their investment. You would have another that would, again, like you said, Christina, try a profit off of it. And some artists would be probably okay with that. And then other artists would probably not be okay with that and sue that company for using their likeness without their permission. You know,
Mm.
um,
Yeah,
I
I
think
could
it
see that.
yeah, I think it opens it up to a ton of different things. Um, Darian also in the comments here, he says another one that was creepy was for an unreleased demo from Aaliyah on a song called Poison featuring The Weeknd, funny enough. But it's kind of difficult to understand her, but The Weeknd could be understood loud and clear. No pun intended. That's funny. Yeah, and that is the thing we talked about too. Um, is I asked, I wanted to know, and Dennis, I think you should share. Why is this all popping up now? Because AI didn't just start when ChatGPT became popular, but it seems like it opened the door for more people to be accepting of it, right?
Mhm. Mhm. Yeah, I mean, I think for me, and I think the biggest thing for me is the accessibility of ChatGPT. As we kind of spoke on this before the podcast, I think for the longest time, the general public didn't believe that we would ever get to a point. It didn't at least consciously believe that we would ever get to a point. Um, to where we would actually have like AI as powerful as what we have with ChatGPT. And
Right.
then the moment that ChatGPT got published and like put out there for literally everybody who has an internet access and can sign up for stuff,
Hmm.
um, to be able to use, I think that's what really sparked people's ideas and sparked people's understanding. The fact that OpenAI is a nonprofit, even though it's hard for us to remember that, but they
Yeah,
are technically a nonprofit
it's wild.
organization, and they put out a lot of detailed information about GPT 3 and 4, a lot of information out there. I think it really gave people like an idea and a sense of what they could actually do with these AI language models, with just the amount of knowledge that they already have and stuff like that. So I think it really just kind of gave people the courage to really push for that. And who knows, also I also feel like maybe this has already been churning for a while. It's
Mhm.
just, again, no one believed, even if they had been working on these models and they had seen, been able to do some really cool, amazing stuff. Because I know GPT-3, right, for instance, had been around for a while. I mean, it'd been
Yeah,
around for at least 3 to 4 years.
yeah, we
Uh,
just didn't know about it. Yeah,
yeah, exactly. And they'd been working on it. You'd see like small papers get published or whatever like that of like, oh, it did this, and stuff. But I don't, I feel like until somebody, right? And so it just so happened to be OpenAI made it public and available for people to actually use, that you really got this courage again, of people saying like, "Oh, well, we already have this, so here you go."
Yeah.
or oh, I can work on this, so here you go, like all
Mhm,
that stuff.
mhm. Yeah. No, without a doubt, and the thing about it, is how that's exploded, how the, opportunities have been created from that have exploded too. But I think again, just people being more, because I know you've talked about how some different open sourcing, um, options have become available, for working off the Chat GPT platform. But I think
Mhm.
it has made people become more accepting of this. Now, I mentioned this earlier in the episode that this is trending number 25 on YouTube right now.
Yep.
That's interesting to me, because um obviously it's catchy. I'm not gonna lie. I've had this song stuck in my head the past 3 days. It's so weird to think that that's not even a human. I'm like, man, that line, I got my heart on my sleeve, but a knife in my back. What's with that? I'm like, man, that's a great Drake line. Like he would
Mhm,
say
it
that.
is. He would.
He would say that. And man, but I think that if this technology had been around for like 20 years, maybe even five,
Mhm.
uh, it wouldn't have this much of a draw, you know. It's the novelty of it. And really, this is the first one we've heard that's original and it sounds great. And it also happens to be with the most famous artist in the world, you know. So I don't know, man. What do you think? Because here's what I foresee is there's going to be a lot of battling and intermingling that happens between now and then, but eventually you're going to have, in my opinion, and jump in the chat too. I want to know your thoughts. I think there's going to be, uh, you know, services where you can listen to AI generated music, and it's knowingly AI generated music. It may have normal music mixed in with there, but they'll be very clear that they also offer AI generated music. You'll also have other services that don't do that, right?
Yeah. Actually that's actually a great point. I could even see this being like really pushed by creators, right?
Hmm.
For um creators who are doing like live streams or creators who are doing like some sort of like YouTube or video stuff. The reason why I say this is I feel like that would be the perfect space for AI generated music to flourish, right? It's copyright
Okay.
free.
Oh,
It's
sure.
um it's it if it can create something to the magnitude of this song, right? You can get really nice sound, really really nice songs kind of created generated from AI and have it in the background and not have to worry about um copyright from like these bigger players. Now of course I feel like that does, of course it can hurt the industry, of course. But I really can see a whole business being created out of this, right? You create an AI business to where it's generating tons of AI music that's copyright free. You can sell a subscription to users for, like you said, for listening. And then you can also sell a subscription to creators for them to be able to include it in their videos
Mhm.
without having to worry about some sort of infringement there.
Yeah, that is a great thought. Christina in the chat says genius thought. I haven't even considered that.
Mhm.
And I mean, man, it is a great thought, and I love it. I was also thinking of another practical use for this kind of thing. Um, and honestly, as a side, I'm just waiting on the Drake diss track where he comes out and disses AI. He's like, I'm not done yet. um, no, but I think what's interesting for me is if I were as a creator wanting to, I think this could give voice to songwriters that may not otherwise be heard, right?
Mm,
Because if you can manipulate the AI in a way where you've written the song, you've put the beat together, and the AI is able to emulate the artist, and it sounds good. You send it to the artist, they're like, "Man, this sounds great. I think I should replicate this for real." I think
mhm.
that could give a voice to songwriters that otherwise would not have it by giving them the complete package to basically put together a song by so and so, send it to that person, and that person pays them for the rights to that song.
I can see that. I can see that, but I can also see kind of the exact opposite of that happening. Um, I guess it's more like a maybe it's a it I can see it as someone almost because right, we're already seeing it where it's able to copy someone who's relatively prolific, um, creating their, copying their style and all sorts of stuff like that. But I could see it becoming a big problem for smaller creators, right? For bigger creators, they have, or bigger artists, I should really say, they actually have lawyers, right? They
Yeah.
have, they're backed by a organization that can help fight these types of things, but smaller creators can't, right? Say it's a smaller creator who's just starting to like really blow up, and then they have like a whole bunch of AI music getting flooded, and it kind of causes them issues.
Yeah.
Um, I could see, and then they don't have the funding, right, to go after these people or to, really try to do their best to take stuff down. And I can see it kind of almost kind of reversing some of the steps that I feel like the internet has given to artists when it comes to needing a record label, right?
Mhm.
For instance,
Oh, sure. Yeah.
because if you have, your record label now becomes a shield for AI,
Mhm.
right? Because or a shield from AI, I should really say,
Wow. Wow.
because
Dude. Sorry,
um
go ahead. I'm sorry. That's a great point
yeah.
though.
Well, no, it's just yeah, it's something that I thought of, like, it really you could force people to go back to record labels because they're the record labels are gonna be the only ones who are gonna have the money, at least when you're first starting out, to be able to defend yourself
We
against
may
these
have
things.
just cracked the code, dude. If record labels are smart, which record label managers are more businessmen than they are musicians for sure.
Yeah.
That would be a super smart thing to do is to plant yourself as we're going to protect our artists. Then that makes these independent artists that get successful and they are independent
Mhm.
have a reason to strive to get signed up to a label because that label will protect them from AI infringement, if you will.
Yep.
Um, that's a great point, man. That would be a great way for them to protect their rights, but it would kill the independent music industry. Um,
We would. It'd be like stepping
yeah,
backwards in time when it comes to artistry.
yes. There's good and bad to that, but it would put all of the cards in the hands of the record label, which is unfortunate. The internet was really the only thing kind of preventing that. I also thought that you would mention, and this is another thing I thought about too, of where they could send that AI creation to the artist, and the artist just uses that, right? Um, the interesting thing I saw, and I'm gonna get to the comments in a minute, but um, was that this ghostwriter person in the comments said, "I of TikTok." It says, I spent years as a ghostwriter and barely saw a dime. Now it's my time to get what's mine. And I don't know what he expects. If this is real, some of this seems like it's Batman superhero kind of fictiony stuff, like it's
Mhm.
just made up for the narrative. Um, because if that were true, he would know he's still not going to make a dime off of this.
Yeah.
Like, not going to. So I guess kind of my question, which we can come back to in a minute, is what would make somebody want to do this? I'd totally be down to play around with this tech, share it with my friends, but to actually put it out there and try to supplant the real artist that it's emulating would never cross my mind. Now that's because I am a musician, but I don't know. Anyway, we'll come back to that in a second.
Mhm.
Christina says, also, though, I think with AI generated voices and further development of deep fakes, we could be getting into super scary territory. Someone could easily mistake, I'm sorry, someone could easily make a song in visuals and the artist never makes a dime. Um, yeah, I mean, there will at least be the confusion out there of that, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
We already have seen that in the past two presidential elections where deepfakes have happened. It's not been anything that's not been easy to see through, but um, yeah, it's definitely growing in popularity and growing in realism.
Yeah. Yeah.
And
Uh,
as far as the music goes, you're exactly right that somebody could easily make a song in visuals, um, and fool the public, you know.
yeah.
Now, if that artist is protected by a label, I don't think that they won't see a dime necessarily, you know. But there
Yeah.
will
I
be a legal battle for sure.
yeah. I think one thing too, that I can see on more of a malicious standpoint. Not saying that the deepfake portion isn't malicious, but I could see it going off of Christina's point. I could actually see it becoming almost like a ransomware type thing as well. But
Mhm,
instead of, say, it's someone's data that is being held hostage, it would be their likeness. Saying like, look, I created this AI, it can replicate this and this and see how good it is. um if you don't send me X, Y, and Z, I'm gonna create this song and send it out, and now people think that you created this song and it does this and this and this to you. And we've seen when there are allegations or something similar to that that hit people, even if those allegations are dropped or the charges are dropped and all that other good stuff like that, um, their reputation never fully recovers
mhm.
from that situation, even if it was fake.
Absolutely.
Um, so I could see it being used in that regard as well.
Mhm,
And that's a point where the record label even has a hard time, right?
mhm.
Of like, how do you navigate waters like that?
Yeah.
um, Especially if someone's able to do it anonymously.
Yeah. Well, and Christina, not to disagree with your point either. I think that I mean, you make a great point with that. I would also say that if it were on the newer end of the spectrum for artists, I could see a situation where that artist is blowing up, an AI version of a song with that artist is made, and the label back on the artist and releases that as if it were the artist that put it together. Now, the
Mm,
thing that will always defend the artist is as long as live music stays alive, which I think it will, that will always keep the need for the artist. Now, of course, you can have holograms and you can have these kind of things, but I think people still go to concerts because they want to see live music,
yeah.
in big numbers. They want to see that person there. These hologram performances have typically just been extenuating circumstances. Michael Jackson, Prince, people that aren't here anymore, Elvis,
Mhm.
right?
Tupac.
So the ones that have had a large draw, right? Tupac, yeah. So yeah, I mean, those are the kind of things. But I do want to talk about, since we're mentioning the younger artists, what that would mean for new artists. I think you kind of touched on it, Dennison, with how you know it could draw more to record labels, right? um
Mhm.
I think
Yeah.
that that's spot on. I don't know, what do you think? I think that that's spot on, that would leave artists potentially in a lurch of not wanting to be independent, because if they're big enough that they're known but they're independent, they could have their likeness stolen from them.
Correct. Yeah, no, I do believe that is, I think that's probably one of the sadder outcomes, but I do believe that there's a high probability of something like that happening. Um, Again, a lot of this kind of does depend on how society moves forward with this technology, and that's actually the other thing to think about too. Is that, like, the thought process of understanding that this is the worst it will be right now. What
Yeah.
we're seeing, this is the worst where it will be. It will get exponentially better. I mean,
Mhm.
we've talked about this before multiple times, but just the the insane rate at which AI has dominated the headlines, as well as like how quickly it's grown within the very very short period of time that it's actually like been here. Um, just goes to show you just how invested people are, and also just how quickly all of this technology is developing. Um, and so I do really feel like, yeah, smaller artists are going to have a really hard time breaking out um without a record label. It's almost, yeah, it really is going to go back to the old days, where you kind of need a record label, at least for legal battles and stuff like that. Um, the only other way that I can think of, maybe smaller creator or smaller artists to be able to kind of like get through without having to worry about it, is if they have like a really, really slow churn and a really slow uprising, right? Um, because at that point you become less of like a target, I guess. You
Yeah.
become under the radar for these AI people to come in and try to create something.
Yeah, I mean, bands that you would see make a living that are regional acts, you know.
Mhm.
This is kind of an aside question that I want to ask, but do you think that this extends, uh, an opportunity for more real music? What I mean is not real music, but less digitally processed. Real sounds is what I mean. You know what I'm saying? Because the reason we're here, the reason we're at a place where AI can emulate singers and all that stuff is quantizing, making sure everything is dead on the beat, and auto tune, you know, because those are digital signal processing that it's just replicated when the AI creates their thing, right?
Mhm.
So for that distinction, if there were to end up being a pushback between of music because of this AI, uh, molding pot or melting pot that ends up happening, right?
Mhm.
Could you see a future where that's kind
Think
of the enticement? You know what I mean?
Yeah, like things go a little bit more analog
Yeah,
to kind of.
and I say that not because I have a desire for that. I don't necessarily. I do think it's interesting we have in every genre gone more and more and more digital in those ways that I've mentioned and a ton more without stop for the past 25 years, you know.
Mhm. Yeah, I mean, I could see that. I could see a resurgence of that. I think the my biggest issue with saying that that would become the solution is that as these AI models become more and more uh, advanced,
True.
they're able to imitate a lot more and do it a lot easier, right? I mean, if you really think about it, we already have technology that can emulate a lot of the analog things that we used to like in older things just because of the technology that we had back then. And
Yeah.
it gets better every day on like how well it can emulate the analog sound. I
Hmm.
do think that may be a thing, like a tool, like a phase essentially that people will move towards. Um, and it does make me, I do want to ask you the question of like, if you had to say go full analog, right? Because that was the only way for you to really show your individuality
Hmm.
as a musician, would you like have a hard time with that, after kind of being in kind of a weird melt, like, in between for so long?
I wouldn't. I wouldn't. I don't think just because the only thing I've ever done, don't tell anybody, is use some vocal tuning, and I have made sure that everything's dead on the beat.
Mhm,
That's just, and this is true for every musician, that's just on me to get better.
mhm,
And everyone in my band, everyone in most bands today. It's on them to get better, as for that. So I think that that's just more a challenge. Those things are around for the convenience and the expediency more than they are to cover up um, fallacies in talent. It's more just
Mhm.
for the ability to put stuff out quicker, especially more complex things. So no, I personally wouldn't have a problem with it. Um,
Mhm.
but
What about the
there just
cost?
flat out are some genres that if something was that was the draw, it would kill those genres.
Mhm. Okay. Well, what about the cost though? Would
Well,
the
what do you think as far as like that
like,
goes?
I guess to go analog, right? And I guess of course it's the recording style, right? So
Mm.
that's a big deal. But I think even going back farther to where it's something less of like going, say, potentially back to tapes or something similar to that,
Right.
because that's
Right.
harder again to replicate.
Yeah.
Um, would there be like a cost portion there that would be
Yeah.
higher than what it is now for like digital?
Oh, without a doubt. And I think um this is taking it a step further than what I was thinking necessarily. I guess, in
Mhm.
this imaginary society, it could get to a point where it's like, hey, we want to see the recording process. We want that proof that it's actually you that did it every step of the way, right? For
Mhm.
me, I was just thinking, allow some of those fallacies, you allow some of being behind the beat a little bit to shine through. That small quiver in your voice shines through, those type of things, right?
Mhm.
But if you're to go full analog, and this is true across the board, it's more maintenance and it's usually more expensive. To the point of something that you were talking about, I've had a plugin on my computer since like 2019 that emulates this iconic tape machine from Abbey Road Studios. It's recorded the Beatles, it's recorded Pink Floyd, I think the Smashing Pumpkins, um, and all iconic records have gone like on this tape machine, and I get to use a digitally recreated version of it on my computer.
Mhm.
That was approved and or reviewed and approved by the head engineer of Abbey Road Studios, right? So it doesn't suck. You know what I mean?
Mhm.
And I think that those things are absolutely like paramount, and you can't. Well, you literally can't put a price tag on that. You know what I mean?
Mhm.
So, yeah, I don't know. I don't know if that answers your question or not, but
No, it does. It does.
yeah,
It helps me out. Because yeah, it just because I do feel like I can see an end goal of it still pulling people towards record labels, right? Because as
yeah,
you said, there is in certain, depending on how far we go back or whatever like that, there can be a subsequent cost that is a part of that, and then again, smaller creators suffer at that point.
yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. Darian's in the comments. He says, I'm curious with AIs and the record labels. I say that because there's been long been the 360 deal where nearly all profits go back to the label instead of the actual artist or whoever created the AI model. Yeah, right. Exactly. Um, which is something that we were kind of thinking about too, dancing around it, how those profits would be split up right now. Um, if if I remember right, I've been hearing about this lately, not connected to AI. Typically, the artist will get 15% of the profits, right? If I remember this right,
Mm,
it'll be 15% of the profits from sales, and then everyone else's profit is split out from that 15%. So, say Denison, like you wrote the song for this pop artist, and your deal is you get 30% of 15. So she gets her 15% and you
okay.
get 30% of that take. But the label's still getting that big mega thing.
Yeah.
So, granted, none of this really adds up to much if it's streaming we're talking about. It's largely the touring that matters for. But yeah, money from streaming, yeah, That's oftentimes why you see artists on their own website. They have pre-sales, they have special order packages, all that kind of stuff. Because even if you do buy the digital version, you can still buy merch and all that kind of stuff directly from them. But um, anyway, yeah, it's just tough to say. That's so contingent upon if record labels are accepting of artificial intelligence replacing their artists,
Yeah.
and how that would go. I really think that there is so much danger and honestly negative changes that could come from AI. But I also think there's so much positivity and so many broader positive things on the horizon. That's why I like your idea, Dennison, of using this music as copyright free. Imagine using a song that sounds like Drake for like the intro for your YouTube video if you're a video creator. It'd be so
Hmm.
sick. And it's free. But they
Yeah.
can still if I remember right too, they still make ad royalties on that off of songs that they're or off of videos that their songs are used in if there are ads put on that video.
For creators.
Yeah, for royalty free. Uh
Yeah, for royalty free music, the people who actually created the music won't get any. I don't think they get any kickback unless they're part of some sort of agency or whatever like that that aggregates those songs, and then they'll probably get some sort of profit off of that. Um, Off of
okay.
but you and usually those services are usually subscription based, right?
Gotcha.
So really it's just off of the money that comes from that stuff.
Yeah.
The actual video creator, right, for using the royalty free music, they don't pay anything to those. Um, I mean, they'll pay it to use the service, of course, but they don't pay anything other, anything else on their
Yeah.
videos. The profits get after that, they're getting AdSense, if it's like YouTube or something similar to that.
Yeah. Well, yes. And I do know as someone who thought about signing up for this, you can get paid for creating royalty free music. It's typically like a bank comes in and they need something for their ad campaign they're about to run, right? And so you create that song for them, but they pay you for it, but they can use it from then on however they want, you
Mhm.
know? So let's see. Darian in the comments here. This is regarding that 15 and then 30 split I was talking about. He says TLC only got 7% of their earnings that they had to split three ways, which is why they filed for bankruptcy multiple times. Even a percentage of their 7% went back to the label. And man, that's the thing is a lot of those artists in the 90s, in late 90s, got wrecked by the record labels because
Mhm.
that was arguably when they were at their most powerful
Yep.
and they would take advantage of young people who didn't understand how that kind of stuff works. And then the reason that money will end up going back to the record label is if you don't reach an amount of album sales that they invest in you for a certain amount of album sales. You don't reach that, you have to pay money back to them. And they'll invest in you, but the money that they're giving you ahead of time is to be used on the recording, right?
Yep.
So sometimes for promotion and all that kind of stuff, that still has to go back to them if your deal is absolutely trash. Um, yeah, there's a lot of twists and turns when it comes to that kind of stuff.
Yeah. Yeah,
Um,
and a lot of people when they sign on to a lot of these artists when they sign on, they don't have the money to get like a lawyer to actually read through,
yeah, without a doubt. Yeah,
and they
no
get
doubt.
swept up too in like the magic of it all.
Yeah, yeah, right. So for me, the thing I wanted to say with there's a lot bad that could come from this, but a lot good too. I just want, like, as a fan of music, as a fan of human connection, because that is always who I've been. You know that.
Mhm.
I just want to know that what I'm listening to, or whoever I'm watching on TV, or what have you, I want to know that's a real person. You know,
Yeah.
I don't want them to try to hoodwink people. I think that's kind of messed up.
Yeah. No, I feel the same way. I feel the same way. I feel like yeah, I would wanna know that I'm there's a there's an actual person there that I'm listening to, or there's an actual person there that I'm watching or seeing or whatever like that. Um, and yeah, these AI kind of trends and things that are being created are, while amazing, are kind of blurring the lines between what is real and what isn't, right?
Mhm. Yeah. Yeah. Without a doubt. And I think that, it's interesting. We're not at that point right now because every AI generated song is so brash and bold about the fact that they're AI, you know. Only when it becomes legally problematic for them to announce that will it be hidden, will it be, snuck right under, be put right underneath our noses the whole time, that whole thing.
Yep.
Um, so I don't know. I think to me, what I would like for it to be is a cool novelty to show how far technology has come. Maybe a way to create royalty free music, like you said. Maybe a way for, starting out songwriters to sell their song ideas to established artists. Um, but the one thing I know is the fact that it's on the internet and the fact that everything progresses so quickly. The just yeah, with AI and just the internet in general, it's gonna be tough to police this. It really is. I don't know.
Mhm.
I can't think of a solid way. We've talked about it just a little bit. I can't think of a solid way to police this, man.
Yeah, yeah. No, I feel the same way. I don't. That's the reason why I still, in some ways, believe that the law is not going to properly catch up.
Mhm.
Um, is because it's so confusing, right? It's at least right now, the scenarios that I can see are really just, can you use AI or can you not? It's just like it's a, you get everything or you get none. I can't see any like weird in betweens because I feel like you still kind of create openings,
Yeah.
loopholes. You create a lot of loopholes, which can cause a lot of harm to a lot of people. Um, and again, still, all of these are amazing, right? And they give us access to so many things, and giving, and that's kind of one of the biggest things that ChatGPT for sure has been really helpful for a lot of people, is that it's giving them access to tools that they otherwise would have never been able to have access to, and
Yep.
being able to learn things that they never would have been able to before. So,
Absolutely. Yep.
it's just as powerful as the search engine, but it also holds the same um issues with as a as like, Google uh
Mhm.
is or has.
Yeah. Well, how do you mean by that?
Well, it's because, search engines allow you to really, it makes the internet accessible to everyone, right?
Yeah.
Every result, everything that you could think of at your fingertips. But with that, right, depending on the user, that also means everything is at your fingertips. So if you
Mhm.
were more of a malicious person, um, you could find things like, say, creating a virus, a computer virus, or say malware, or even if we're going outside of the computer realm, even creating um even creating you know problematic diseases, or creating bombs, or finding people's passwords and stuff like that.
Yeah.
It gives you access to that if you know how to use it. And the same thing goes with AI, right? No matter how many constraints that you put on it, there are always going to be people who are going to be able to find ways to get around those, right? The loopholes, and they're going to use it in a malicious way.
Yep.
So I guess that's what I was really trying to get at.
No, I get that. I think that's a great point you made, man. And that's just something we have to figure out a way to protect against. I think it's going to be a never-ending chase, though, like you said. I think the problem with, so that to me was separate, in my opinion. I think the law catching up with AI in general will be tough. I think the law protecting artists' rights won't be tough necessarily,
Mhm.
um but yeah, I think, man, that's it, just because it's developing so quickly. Um and you're right. There are safeguards in place on things like Chat GPT that prevent from really bad searches being done. But you're right. People look into loopholes and all that kind of stuff. It just needs safeguards. I don't know what that looks like or how that's policed. The internet
Mhm.
is so vast. But it's almost like we need an AI to police the AI.
Yeah.
Yeah, becoming out of control. Well, we'll see where this goes. Definitely is an unknown territory for the music industry and just creators in general. So it'll be interesting to see what this means for the future. And look, I really want to bump out with this. I'm not gonna lie. I really just want to like. It's so scary. Like, just leave with that song. But there's a small part of me that just feels like UMG is gonna come in and be like, your live stream is blocked
I
because
know.
you used this song. Yeah, I'm not using it anymore. Sorry, guys. You can look it up yourself on YouTube. Um, Man, with that said, I think we had a great discussion on this. And you guys were great as well. Thank you so much for jumping in. Thank you for doing the live stream with us.
Mhm.
That's what this is all about. This is why we do what we do. So, um, yeah, thank you for leaving your comments and questions in the chat. We go live every week, and we're getting back on schedule here with our new season for every Thursday night. So join in. Give us a like on Facebook, on YouTube. That's number one, right? That's the top way you can support this channel.
Mhm. That
Yeah,
is
yeah, yeah.
number 1.
Okay. Number two is to leave a rating and review wherever you're listening, wherever you're watching, and subscribe if you like us. That tells the AI that people are reacting to our show. And number three, if you want to support us monetarily, it does cost to run this show. It would help us out a lot and help you out a lot to get some good, clean merch from our shop. It's linked wherever you're listening, wherever you're watching. We got t-shirts, hats, sweatshirts, or long sleeves, phone cases, mugs, all sorts of cool stuff. So check it out. We really think you're gonna like it. It's good quality stuff. So
Mhm.
yeah, with all of that said, man, thanks so much for listening. Thanks for watching, and we'll catch up with you next week.